Hey, well, it's being when to come back to another video. I'm just sitting here thinking, family, and it's always good to take some time to yourself and just, you know, critically think about this existence and the things that go on in our society, whether it's politically, economically, culturally, socially. You dig? Because that's what basically makes a community. You know, the culture, the politics, the social aspects, and the education. Those are major components that pretty much decides or dictates the success of certain communities within countries, within states, within nations. And so it starts at the community level, where all those components, politics, economics, education, they all starts to, manifest. But with bad leadership, each one of those aspects of society can be corrupted. And when it's corrupted, that means those are going to be, those are going to be some that benefit from it, and those that are going to be affected by it. So when there's bad leadership, when there's corruption, the idea of a community where everyone succeeds and everyone benefits, it would never happen. And so when you look at on a macro scale, with the United States, and you look at some of the laws politically that have been passed, and some of the bills and legislation that's been passed, you got to look at the group of people that are affected by it. I kind of go back to, some legislation in the 60s, which was the civil rights legislation, which was supposed to make sure that individuals weren't discriminated against because of their color, because of, the religion, whatever, but it's supposed to protect individuals from discrimination, all right? But it was actually geared toward Afro-melanated people, because remember, back then, it was one group of people that was definitely disenfranchised. And I mean, we're talking to the point where it was, these books, these laws and stuff were in the Constitution. You did? So it's not like, how can you actually gain any type of, any sense of, repentance, reparation? I just can't see it when it's the government that actually is doing it. Why would you write a law like the civil rights movement or the civil rights legislation to prevent individuals from doing something that the government perpetuates? So in itself, that tells you that that was hypocrisy at its highest. You passed the civil rights legislation to prevent discrimination, but if you look at the historical aspect of the Constitution and the laws and the Supreme Court justice rulings, it doesn't add up. Okay, you still have remnants of discriminatory legislation that you still have, so it don't add up. And so when you fast forward to today and you look at Clinton's crime bill, which all it basically did was, gave carte blanche to police officers to arrest young Afro-melanated men. That was a bill, the crime bill. Joe Biden signed it. What's the guy named? Bernie Sanders. So all these old cats that's running for president, that's still in Congress, they signed these bills and these, and this legislation that, would. I mean, and this isn't just conjecture. This isn't, speculation. Just go look at the numbers. Look at the spike of arrest and incarceration rates of Afro-melanated people in the early 90s when Clinton passed the crime bill. And you look at that now, it's like in Chicago and Baltimore, where more people are being shot and killed on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, and it's never on the television. But you'll see, on every station, every media outlet, stories about, the white settlement shooting where 3 people were shot in the church, or, the stabbing incidents in New York where there were like 4 or 5 Jewish rabbi people were stabbed. That's on every news outlet, but you don't hear anything about the victims or the suspects in all of these shootings in Chicago and Baltimore. So there's some really disingenuous reporting going on. But like I said, it goes all the way back to the beginning. So you can't say or try to, persecute individuals for being discriminating or racist when the whole system was based off of that. You still have remnants of it in your Constitution, all right? So it's like, it isn't something new, but it's hidden in plain sight. And so if you're Afro-Melanin and you voting for president, you got to look at the policies that have been passed by these presidents. I mean, like I say, Clinton's crime bill, George Bush's No Child Left Behind. See, this is tangible information that you can actually find and research. Look at the number of young Afro-melanated kids, young Afro-melanated males that were in special education, starting in the early 2000s when George Bush passed the No Child Left Behind. When everything was all inclusive, least restrictive environment. Then you're not taking in consideration the real intrinsic needs of students that can't be in a regular classroom, that need additional services outside of the general classroom. But you're just throwing everybody in the classroom. And then with the emergence of ADD and ADHD and this, what they call behavior problems, emotional disorders attached to behavior problems, hyperactivity problems. Now you're throwing kids in special education because of hyperactivity. So the numbers don't lie. So this No Child Left Behind bill increased the numbers of kids in special education that are Afro-melanated, and you're seeing what that did. And then you fast forward again to Obama and his Obamacare. How are you going to force people to buy something that they don't want or need? And the people that are suffering are those that can't afford it. Okay? So all this legislation, family, if you vote for president and all these kind of cats, look at what they do. This goes all the way back. Okay? From the civil rights legislation to the crime bill that Clinton passed in the 90s, to George Bush's No Child Left Behind education bill, to Obama's Obamacare, and then these Afghanistan-Iraq wars, where a lot of our young men of all nationalities were killed, and actually back over here now dealing with the most horrendous disabilities. So look at the policies and look at who's affected by these policies. It's not an accident, family. All right? So do your research, family. Let's be more objective. Like I say, in order for a community to be viable and for everyone to benefit from it, politically, economically, socially, educationally, it has to be non-corrupt. It has to be. And if it's not, then you're going to have this type of environment where there are always going to be haves and have-nots. I mean, look at the assault on public education right now. $50 billion to go to public education in every state. Not to public education, mind you, but to every state. So they'll decide whether or not public education or private education is better. Come on, man. Private schools don't even have to have certified teachers. So how is that going to benefit kids? So where are the highly effective or the highly qualified teachers? The highly qualified teachers, the highly effective teachers are being pushed out. Okay? All right, family. In the meantime, between time, may the Most High inside to bring you joy. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And being with is 5,000.